What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the Ysn Power Hour. DJ Yoakley with you live from Athletics Studios here on Route 7 in Columbiana County, now known as Dream City, USA. And it's all brought to you by our friends at Toyota of Warren. Thanks to Tino and all the great folks that are making your lives a little bit easier whenever it comes to buying your next used or brand spanking new vehicle. You can visit them up at Toyota of Warren. Could not suggest them anymore. And of course, they're the great supporters of what we call this 60-minute love letter to local sports every day, the Ysn Power Hour. Again, my name is DJ. Be with you for the next 55 minutes or so. And I apologize for getting on a little bit late. First thing I got to do is can somebody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, if it's clear, if it's the same kind of the audio, the video. I'm having all kinds of technical issues as I got in here a little late after a meeting. And of course, when you're running late, everything seems to go wrong. So if you guys give me a thumbs up that everything sounds good, looks good, there's no skipping, because right now it's like skipping on my end. So I appreciate that. And obviously this is me being flustered. So you can expect one of those shows as there's very little sports to report on. Otherwise, well, but I got a great message right before we went on the show from one of the 16U parents, and just grateful for the topic yesterday, and obviously all that went in. The interesting thing, folks, I'm going to let you in a little behind the scenes action as we pull back the curtain. So I went on my rampage yesterday about how Youngstown is the mecca of everything that is baseball and softball, diamond sports oriented, not just in the country, the world. And then lo and behold, our guys go out a tough fought game last night and they lose 2-0. They come up on the short end of that stick. They lose. And you wouldn't believe the messages, and this isn't to YSN, this is to yours truly, the messages that I received asking for a rebuttal, asking for basically to come on today and apologize. Firstly, awesome that you're watching the shows. Secondly, no. It's as simple as you're not going to get me to apologize or be any kind of sincere form of apologies and say that anything I said yesterday, specifically about Youngstown and the surrounding areas, Northeast Ohio being the mecca, the hotbed, the go-to, the central point of diamond sports, you're never, ever going to get me to take that back, what I said yesterday. I still, win, lose, or draw, still believe that this is more so than ever now, because now you just set me off. Now the thing that were sent, the messages that were sent to me, and this was probably in conjunction with some of the, and I don't even know if it's from the team that actually won, but it was like in cahoots, because they all came at the same 5-minute timetable, and it was just bang, 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 bang. So sorry about your luck. You're not going to get it, but I'm still incredibly proud. People, maybe other networks, other shows will sit there and be apologetic for being borderline boastful about their teams and their areas. And some teams, some hosts will jump on the other horse, so to speak. Not this guy. I root for all of our teams. Anybody that is touching YSN, we are rooting for you as much as you are rooting, hopefully, for us. And I can tell you that you're just not going to get an apology. You're not going to get anything like that. I'm not going to speak out of both sides of my mouth. Youngstown is, and I think for the next at least decade or so, I mean, it's hard to look further than that, is going to be the central point of diamond sports here in the world. So excited for that. So you can take any apology you thought you were going to get and stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Anthony says, who knew we had a Southern Illinois viewership circle? Got on YSN, we'll talk about you. Or get on YSN, we'll talk about you. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't even know that they're from Southern Illinois. And that was kind of where this whole thing. I looked up. Naturally, you're going to see a bunch of fake profiles. Um, they didn't say if they were parents. They didn't say if they were players. My guess is not parents. The way, if they were, sorry. I mean, just the way that things were typed out. There was no punctuation. There was no capitalization. There was no you. And I'm sure anybody out there that is listening, watching, has received some of these messages at some point, and they just roll their eyes. You can let them get your goat, or you can just let it go. They were one reading for me late last night, and trust me, I didn't have any problem sleeping. We're still incredibly proud of our boys and our girls, for that matter. And I will echo this. One group of folks that I didn't sit here yesterday and pat on the back and celebrate: parents. I have to. This is one of the most challenging times, I believe, in history, to be a parent of a student athlete, no matter what it is. It's just to be a parent in general. It's one of the most challenging times in history. And some people will sit and say, well, you brought them into this world, you could take them out. Da, da, da. Yeah, okay. That's the old school. That's my generation. We got that talking to. It's not so simple anymore. With all the different ways that you can become a parent, with all the different ways that you can not be a parent. And I'm not trying to get anybody riled up, but what I'm trying to say is these student athletes, it's easy and almost popular to celebrate the coaches, and parents have to be there for when times are tough. I'm sure there was a lot of parents that were disappointed because every time that your kid takes the field, you want them to win, you want them to be the best they can be. You want them, and that's why there's so much to do, so much hubbub about being a parent in sports nowadays. See, this is what I'm talking about. Look at this, right? And I don't know if you guys can see this. This is the stuff that we get more than anything. Luis Lou, you're a phony, a fraud. We're not even talking about a game being broadcasted, and you have nothing to do with YSN. But that's the kind of stuff we're getting this from all over, and I don't know if they're all bots. Jim Powers, let's go. But yeah, Luis Lou, I see you in our Facebook comments. Back to what I was talking about, the parents deserve to be celebrated. And there's a lot of people that are going to say, well, why? And I got to tell you, with all the travel ball, with all the different things that are out there to take your child or your son or daughters, their mind, their time, their resources away from being part of the family, doing chores, being a part of a team, doing all this stuff. Kudos to the parents that are out there, both of college athletes, tomorrow, yesterday, high school, all the T-ball. I mean, parents that aren't even parents yet, that already have established this is the way we're going to be, and being able to juggle. It's tough, ladies and gentlemen. It's tough. I mean, think about having a full-time job, right? And you're still trying to live out your dreams, and you're still trying to live out what you're doing and goals for yourself, your family, your wife. And all of a sudden you got kids that are going from Youngstown, Ohio to Dayton, Ohio to Florida, to Texas, to Illinois. I mean, all over the place, Kentucky. And the parents just have to pick up and go. Or they've got to find a group of people that they consider borderline family, if not family, and trust them to let their kids go. In the world that we live in right now, it is almost impossible to do that as much as we are being asked. I mean, you look at these young ladies for Austintown, and they're trying to put me together and help them, by the way, if you can, if it's possible. There's so many GoFundMes. There's so many ways to help this team from Austintown get to the Little League World Series. it's so challenging. And I remember being 12-year-old and thinking that I was 18, right? We all have that. We feel like we're older than we are, and then we get to be that old, like, whoa, 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 I wish I was 12 again. So every child that is going through this, they're going through it. They're experiencing this as a grown up because that's kind of what you have to do. We're asking them to be mature beyond their years in order to experience a situation like this. Because let's be honest, normal 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 14, 16, 18-year-olds don't experience what our kids have the luxury to do. And a lot of them are doing it for the first and maybe the only time that they'll ever do that. So when you go through that, kudos to the parents. Congratulate the parents. Because this isn't the norm. This isn't something that, you built that into your expectation of what a 10U state championship or a 12U state championship. There's a lot of dominoes that have to fall in the right direction. However, there's a lot of people and good people that have to be able to give a lot, to sacrifice a ton, even more than their child is, to be able to make sure that kid gets to where they need to go, to have the opportunities, to have those at-bats, to have those opportunities to experience something that they may never experience otherwise. Because I think that when you go through something once, especially when you're that young, when you're 10, 12, 14, you think that this is common ground. You think this is just what happens. And that's just not the case. And I think the one thing that our parents here in Northeast Ohio, they have that expectation of greatness. But they also let the kids be kids and let them experience it in a way that, hey, little Johnny, you might not be back here next year, so go give it your all and appreciate what is being done in your direction. Or, hey, little Jenny, to go to the state championship or to go to the Little League World Series, this is not something that is a ticket that's typically handed out to a young person. I mean, I can't tell you that I've ever been to the Little League World Series as a skater or as a participant. And that's something that, I mean, when you suit up, when you tie your first cleat, that's something you want to do. And I think nowadays, and trying to tie this all and make it all full circle, nowadays, managing expectations is one of the most challenging parts of being a coach or being a parent, because every kid feels like they deserve, for whatever reason, to have everything provided to them. And here we are. And what I saw last night, and I'm going to make an example of this. What I saw last night when those young men just lost a hard-fought battle to be runners-up in the world, and I didn't see one of them hanging their heads, feeling sorry for themselves. Now, I can tell you there was discipline. And disappointment's okay. Because disappointment, all that does is it tells you wanted something. But hanging your head, to me, tells me that you left something out there. Hanging your head doesn't show that you weren't enough. It shows that you wish you had a little bit, or you did have a little bit more to give. Showing disappointment tells me that, at least from where I was raised, how I was brought up, disappointment shows me you gave it your all, it just wasn't enough, and you've got to work harder to get there next time. Hanging your head and sulking about something tells me that you had something left. If you have that emotion left in you, that means that there was still something left to give, and you should have given it prior to. I was so proud of watching each and every one of those young men walk through that line, be awarded their medallion, and move on. Because, ladies and gentlemen, that's basically what we saw last night, was that bridge. I don't know that we're ever going to see another team or that specific team take the field in that specific way ever again. Certainly not the 16U level. Enjoy this, parents. Enjoy when your son or daughter is taking these strides and going through. I really hope that there's some Austintown folks listening right now, and I want you to win it all. I want you to bring home that world championship. I want you to be on every major network you can for those young ladies to get all the exposure they possibly can. But I want you to realize that it's not given at this level. Just like we try to tell kids from they graduate from the time they're 18 as seniors and they move into the freshman dorms, you're on a whole new level. Everything that you knew is gone, and everything is that you're about to learn is going to be brand spanking new to you. And everything's a learning experience, and you have to take those morals, those values, and that skills that you built along the way. You got to take that into that next level and hit the ground running. Because if you don't, it'll be a train waiting there to hit you and knock you down. Nobody's there to pick you back up. Enjoy every moment. Embrace it. The world is watching 100%, and that's nothing to be nervous about because you've got talent to show. You have opportunities to showcase your talent. Parents, you need having these conversations and telling these kids to embrace those moments. They're fleeting. They pass by quickly. Grateful enough for technology to be able to go back and relive these moments time and time again nowadays. That's something to be very grateful for. But there's nothing like being present in the moment. And when you take the field on a night like last night on the world stage, even if you come up a little bit short, even if you come up a lot short, nobody can take away from you what you've already done. And as parents, I saw a lot of pride in the stands last night. I've seen a lot of pride in the stands all year with multiple sports. I've seen a lot of pride in the community all year, which I love. Whether they're yours or not, whether you support, your community plus 68 others, that's phenomenal. We have special talent here. And I'm here to tell you, because we have special parents, we have special leaders of families, of communities, of teams, of sports organizations. We have great athletic directors, we have great teachers. But to me, and for good, bad, and indifferent, as a parent, you always hear what? It always starts in the home. And that shouldn't always be a bad thing. When it's in the home and it's a good thing, that should be celebrated as well. And we're seeing a lot of that. And that's the one thing I didn't get to point out yesterday is parents, you're kicking ass. You really are. And you should be just as proud as those championships and of those moments as these kids. And nobody can take that away from you either, because I think as parents, we all want, and I had this conversation today, we all want our kids to level us up. We all want them to have a better life, no matter what side of the coin we grew up on. We all want them to have a better life than we had. And all I can say is well done. Those young men, those young ladies are well on their way. And it's because of folks like you. It's because of coaches like we have. It's because of leaders like we have, communities like we have. And folks, I got to be honest with you, nothing makes me more prideful. I mean, I know I've said that word and it keeps coming today, but nothing gives me more pride and just absolute gratitude than seeing areas that aren't even affiliated with Boardman, Austintown, Canfield. I mean, these teams that are going, right? Newcastle, Western PA, supporting Northeast Ohio supporting Western PA. Listen, you can pick Brown Steelers, but it doesn't matter because on the baseball field, we're all playing out of Bobbsey Park. We're all playing out of Austintown, Canfield. I love that. I love that. I love that. That's phenomenal because we all have goals. Travel ball has been great of bringing people a little bit closer together and creating those all-star teams. But when you create those all-star teams, people will talk about it all the time. What it does is it raises the bar. If you want to beat this team, you've got to be able to go out and get somebody else. And people talk about open enrollment and things of that nature and recruiting all the time that happens in our schools, supposedly. But what I'll tell you is this: it's raising the bar. I can't be the only one that looks at the football schedules and the accolades that we've been able to garner in the basketball and baseball, softball, lacrosse. Our sports here in Northeast Ohio are more competitive than they've ever been. And there's more kids, and this is what we really need to be celebrating and bringing, drawing eyes to, is that we've got more kids that are playing more sports than anywhere else. And this is not backed by statistical data because I don't have it in front of me, but just looking at it through the naked eye, there's a lot of kids that used to specialize in sports. Yours truly being one of them. Right now, I don't know that there's a majority of that at all. I don't even know that it's an 80-20 split. I think that it's more 90-10, 95-5 in this area. And folks, that's something to be proud of. That's something to be incredibly proud of, because you're giving kids an opportunity to be seen, to increase their level, to increase their opportunities, whether it's in sports or otherwise, every time you let them suit up in a different sport. The memories alone will carry them the rest of their life. We have a group of parents right now, a group of coaches, a group of athletic directors, superintendents, teachers that are encouraging kids to get involved more than they've ever been, because this is the group that was involved when they went to school. And they understand. They didn't have the technology necessarily that these kids have nowadays, and the opportunities even. But they have the mentality. If these kids want to play multiple sports, let them play multiple sports. Specialization comes at the next level. Specialization comes when somebody tells you you're not good enough to play. In high school, that rarely should happen. And sometimes the person is you. Sometimes, hey, listen, really enjoy being part of this team. I can't compete at this level. I cannot provide any means of help or resource for this team. So I'm going to focus on 2 sports instead of 3 sports. Or I'm going to focus on 2 sports instead of 4 sports. To me, you're still a multi-sport athlete. Keep it going. Right? At 4.5, I was never really an advocate for basketball. My wife's rolling her eyes because she's saying 5'4.5", huh? Okay. Only on your driver's license and in the program. But honest to gosh, I mean, it's one of those situations where I regret it. I regret not playing more sports. I loved playing football. I wish I played basketball. And I adored, to this day, playing baseball. It's one of those things you can't go back. I mean, you can't be 19 years old and go back and say, I wish I had 4 more years to play soccer. Soccer soccer would have been fun. I would like playing in college now. That ship sailed, sailor. Parents, you got to get involved. You got to make sure you're celebrating these kids and giving them every opportunity the way that you are. And you're doing an awesome job. Keep it up. Don't let wins and losses give you the reason to say you need to stop, especially at the world stage, especially at a championship stage. And sometimes you're going to have that kid that's drafted first in the draft that ends up on the worst team. It happens. It happens. Encourage them to sharpen their leadership skills in those moments. Your record might not reflect necessarily the greatest year you've ever had, but how are your leadership skills? Did you make the people around you better? Did you make them want to stay and play baseball, softball, volleyball, basketball, football, soccer? Did you want them? Do people want to be around you and play with you next year? Because as we know, what starts as the base of the pyramid at some point comes to that peak. And most schools, most organizations and youth start with 10 teams, 20 teams. And all of a sudden you're at the high school level and it gets less and less and less. But let me tell you something. Look at Canfield and South Range. And why are we looking at them? Because that's two programs won the highest of the high last year. They went out winners, which is the hardest thing to do in high school football. Each of them. And I'm talking South Range, who is a Division 5. And even Canfield at Division, was it 3? You look at that, and South Range had over 60 kids on their football team, 20 of them seniors. Canfield had 20 plus seniors. You can look at that season and you can say, well, that was incredible. But when you really break it down, what's been incredible to see and what incredible for me to watch and analyze was the fact that that 20 plus players that stayed together, stayed the course, stayed strong throughout all those years of Little Cardinals, Little Raiders, flag football, all that stuff. And they close enough and encouraged each other enough to keep coming out and keep coming out and keep coming out until something special happened. And I guarantee you can go up to any one of those 20 families on either sideline and say, do you regret it? And they're all going to come back and say, no. There's nothing to regret, naturally. And you can't tell me that some of those kids didn't have losing seasons along the way in some form or some capacity. And times weren't challenging, right? Overall, they get to a certain point, and I've been told this, yeah, they're going to win together. And it's a lot easier to stay together when you're winning, except for when pride gets in the way and you're not getting the playing time that you necessarily think you deserve. And instead of getting better, you get bitter. And as we talked about, that starts in the home. If you hear that, see that, make sure that you're letting your kid know that you get better. Instead of an hour's worth of Nintendo Switch, go do an hour's worth of getting yourself better at fork. Open up some film. Do some film study. If you have someone on your team that's better than you, go work out with them, figure out what they're doing, and get better with them. Iron sharpens iron. But I'm here to tell you that we've got a group of parents, coaches, and communities that have lifted these young men and women up. And I'm here to celebrate you. Because that is special. That is something that doesn't happen at every single community in this great country. We got coaches that pull kids off of the streets. We got coaches that make sure kids are cracking the books. We have communities that back these kids and support them every single game. We have parents that are doing the best they can, working 2-3 jobs to make sure that their kids can play in today's climate, where the OHSAA is charging money to make sure that these kids are getting the bills paid. A lot of times that doesn't come out, and that's not spoken word. I mean, that's not often door that is opened, because we want to talk about the championships. We want to talk about all these other things, but we don't want to talk about what it took to get there. And parents, you're a big piece of that. You're a huge piece of that. And I want you to feel proud, because you don't get the credit that you deserve. Everybody wants to talk about how terrible the situations are at home, but nobody wants to talk about all the sacrifices that I made to make sure our kids are in a better situation than we were. That they can be afforded these opportunities to go win world championships with Youngstown on front, but those names that raised them on the back. That's incredibly important. That's incredibly important. And you be proud. And I want you to be proud. And kids, athletes, if you're out there, you're watching this, you need to make sure that the people that put you in these positions are the ones that you're thanking. Thank them on social media. Thank them at the dinner table. Thank them whenever you can. Because I promise you, being grateful is something that will never go out of style. That will never be pushed to the side. Be grateful. Understand what is being sacrificed. I mean, there's only so many days of PTO that are out there for mom and dad. And I'm sure sometimes they would much rather go on a beach vacation or on a cruise than go to Palomino or Southern Illinois or, a Kentucky, somewhere where they can just lock it up. But deep in their heart, they don't care about that stuff because they would drop everything and do it for you. Make sure you tell them you are grateful. Parents, we are grateful for you. Coaches, we are grateful for you because you're in the same boat. And a lot of times, you don't even have a horse in the race. A lot of times, you're doing this because you need to do it because nobody else would. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And for all those leaders out there that are coaches or otherwise, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Scotty Rez says, amen, 2 hearts. Talk about great peoples, great parents right there. Scotty and Leanne. We're going to take a break. We come back. We got some stuff to talk about. A little, I guess we can, we've broken the news probably 3 times, and it's out of frustration that I've got to tell you again. However, I should learn my lesson and not say anything until it's absolutely out. I want to tell you a little bit about the evolution of YSN, and we're going to tell you about it next, right here on the Ysn Power Hour, to you by these great sponsors, including our good friends over at, it's Toyota of Warren.
We believe expectations are made to be exceeded. At the new Toyota of Warren, it's about more than just getting a great deal. It's about service you can count on and a friendship you can trust. Year after year, we've done what we do best. We've gone the extra mile so you could too. Because we know it's just not about buying a new car. It's the start of a new adventure. Toyota of Warren, driven by you.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online.
A Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
And on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
All right, welcome back. I got some text messages during the break, and as expected, we're having some issues here production-wise with StreamYard and with our just general connection. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to run an Omaha, an audible, and we're going to pick up this conversation tomorrow. So that way, hopefully, it's a little bit better. We can clear up any issues we're having with the internet, and it's a little bit cleaner for you. I apologize if it's not polished. Again, we're still going through some growing pains. We continue to expand here, and we're getting away from our basic studios in East Palestine. We're at the Taj Mahal of sports here in Addix in Columbiana, and we're making sure that we put on best programming for you. So we'll cut up the stuff from today. If you've got requests for topics, make sure that you send them over to our Facebook page, our Twitter, YouTube, whatever it is, LinkedIn, Twitch. And of course, you can always send them to us here at YSN. So we'll wrap up today. I don't even want to do a Joe Dickey Electric and risk the production value being crappy. So apologize for the technical difficulties, but thank you for messaging me and letting me know that it's a little bit sketchy today. We're not about that life. So thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow, hopefully with a better production value here on the YSN Power Hour, brought to you by our friends at Toyota of War. Peace.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation